Welcome to another episode of Alpha Intuition Podcast. We're going to help you guys crack that crazy girl code. I'm your host, Keisha Blair, and joining me as always is my beautiful, insightful mind wellness coach, Essence Yarbrough. Essence, welcome to the show.
Hello, glad to be back as always. Glad to be here. We got a great show today.
All right, guys. So we're going to jump right in, and we're talking about what to do if you find yourself becoming unattracted to your partner. Now, this is a tough situation that many people may face, and it's an important topic to try to navigate. We want to make sure we don't body shame people. We want to make sure that we don't do anything to try to be insensitive. So we're just going to dive right in.
Yeah.
All right. So the first topic that I want to talk about is understanding the root cause when it comes to loss of attraction.
Yeah.
So basically, when the attraction fades, let me ask you this question: such as physical changes and emotional changes, and simply just evolving interest and all that, what do you suggest that our male listeners do when they have a partner that they're no longer attracted to?
You got to reflect on what exactly is shifting. I think, is it just a mood? Is it a state of mind? Is it your partner? Is it stress related? What is surrounding that lack of attraction? Kind of pinpointing what it is a way to just kind of start, you can start there and being honest about your own feelings and emotions, where you're at. Reflecting though on those things is, I think, definitely not jumping the gun, not jumping and doing something, but sitting back and reflecting.
Well, just sometimes, man, you have to think about where the loss of attraction comes from, right? It's like sometimes there's so many things that can go into that. It can come from whether it may be like an emotional disconnection, or it could just be simply physical changes in your partner, or it just could be that you're just interested in something else and you just don't really connect with that person anymore.
Yeah, sometimes I've seen it where it's personality clashes all of a sudden. People are growing in two different directions. You have emotional misalignment. It could be a number of things. I think finding what lies beneath everything is really it's crucial. And then also again, what's going on around you two as a dynamic? What is the circumstance? Is it around money issues? Is it stress on the job? Are you transitioning? Do you have people in your ears? It could be a number of things where, how guys would be told, man, you could do better than that, man. Why you got that? You know what I'm saying? It could be people in your ears. This girl, what's he doing for you? What, you know what I'm saying? And people might not see the vision that you see. So not being influenced by outside sources, pinpointing it,
Well, you got to watch out sometimes. Now, you already know as women, I already know that I'm not even going to say my friends, but I've seen friends that will sit there and just try to say negative stuff, knowing they attracted to your man. Knowing that they trying to just tell you stuff to try to get you to break up with him, and they really trying to get with your man on the sly.
Oh, you know what? Women cannot be naive about that. Neither can men, but I'm a woman, so I'm not really sure how men be doing that. But yeah, as a woman, you are so right.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this from what I've seen most of the time. I'm like, guys, let's just say if a party breaks up, right, and you got one of your friends that's interested in someone that you used to date, most of the time guys will go just talk to that guy and tell him hey, they'll basically try to get approval for them to talk to their friend's ex, right? If the person is no longer interested and they're like, hey, they just trying to get the green light. Women, them heifers don't care. They be trying to go behind your back and try to date them dudes. And it's like, we ain't got no kind of code when it comes to stuff like that. You know what I mean? That's just so wrong.
You pop up and they just be pregnant. They be married.
When did y'all start seeing each other? It's like, really? Seriously? Nah, but I
Yeah.
think guys got a code when it comes to that. That like I'm not saying that they don't date each other's exes, but it's almost like they ask for permission before they do it. It's like they have that respect
Mhm.
level for each other. Where I think in women we ain't got that. They'll sit there and they'll been and slept with your ex,
Yeah.
and you don't even know about it until the relationship is full blown, and you be like, when did this start?
Mhm.
And even
Yeah, I
if we break
have
up with
seen
them,
that.
we even though
Yeah.
we are in a relationship and we break up with an ex, it's still like we still have an emotional tie to that person. So the last person you want to see with your ex is one of your friends as a woman,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
definitely not cool with that.
Yeah, yeah, that, oh gosh. And I realize that people actually have to have those conversations amongst friends. Like, you got to kind of have that conversation. I did have a situation though, where the man acted so bad, the friend came in and was just like, "Hey, what's up?" Like, he was like, "He ain't right. He ain't no good. So, what's up?" And I was
Wow.
like, "No, thank you."
I didn't got no girl. I didn't got all off topic. We supposed to be talking about when the attraction fades. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I know. And I just ate it right in there. I was
I
about to
know,
loop it
right?
around.
So we
We're
supposed
getting
to be
there,
talking
but
about.
yeah, but that's a real thing, though. That's why you can't let the attraction fade, because then the friends will swoop in. That's the point. That's the connection right there.
There you go. I truly agree with that. So when you talk about like the root cause, well, let's talk about so like the root cause or loss of attraction, right? And I mean,
Mhm,
because there are so many reasons, like we mentioned, like physical attraction. Sometimes,
mhm.
women, sometimes we let ourselves go when we fall in love, and we end up
Yeah,
falling in love with somebody, and we end up gaining weight, and we start doing all kind of other things. We don't keep ourselves up. We don't do the same things to keep that man that we used to do that attracted that man, and that is so not cool. It's like we got to make sure that we still keep getting our hair done, still keep getting our nails done, still keep going to the
yeah.
gym. However you looked when you met him, you have to make sure that you maintain that, because men are visual. They want something pretty on their arms all the time.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. I do believe that if it's a surface relationship, then they'll be fickle and they'll be ready to bounce the minute you have a baby or the minute everything, because life comes in and things change, bodies change. A lot of women would be like, yo, like, my thighs ain't as tight as they used to be. Like, I got to get back in the gym. So, but it's like at the end of the day, I believe that, you have, I don't know. I don't know. I'm so torn on that because I'm with you on that, right? I'm with you on you can't let people lose it. You don't want nobody that's going to lose track, right?
Well,
Of
wait,
keeping up with
said,
themselves.
but you said have a baby. Okay, that's like that's a whole nother aspect right there. Because now, wait a minute.
No, but dudes
If
be
I
doing
no
that.
wait, if I brought forth life for you, and I have brought a legacy into this world for you, and you got the audacity to talk about my weight, oh, it's gonna be a problem. It's gonna be an MF problem. I ain't even gonna lie, because I'm sorry, because oh my goodness, I'm about to bring him up, but when I was
Don't say
married.
no.
I'm not gonna say no name. But when I had my firstborn, and it was just like I was back in my 20s, and you, I did gain a lot of weight when I had my first child. It took a minute to get it back off. So, but I was just doing like like I got one of my friends that always say life be life, and right. So I was into the midst of raising my child, trying to be a new mother, trying to be a new wife. I'm doing all these things, and I was not focused on my weight. I wasn't focused on my health. And my husband at the time said to me, if I wanted a fat woman, I would have married one. Almost fighting words. I'm not even gonna lie. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. After I had given birth, after I get up every morning and cook your breakfast for you, after I do all the things, like, how could you say that to me? You know what I mean? It was just like, oh my God. Well, I didn't know, I didn't even know how to respond. Like, I was just heartbroken in that moment. So I guess what I'm saying to my male listeners is that if we're talking about a woman who has gained weight due to pregnancy, that's like that's like flag on the play. You can't be bringing stuff up like that. This person has Our bodies go through metamorphosis when we decide to have a child, and it takes a minute for it took 9 months to get that way. It may take even longer to get it back to normal, and it may never be back to normal. So that's something that should never ever 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 come into play. And most of the time as a woman, we know when we're not the same. We know that our bodies are not the way that they used to look. And we'll work towards it. And the last thing we need is the person that we love is to try to bring that into play. So yeah, that's a flag on the play right there.
Yeah, flag on the play, and they need to have a mindset like Cat Williams. Oh, them stretch marks. Come here, girl. I,
For
they
real.
might as well get on their Cat Williams at that point. They need to
For
act
real.
right.
For real.
So yeah,
100%.
yeah. So yeah. Sometimes those
Hmm.
looks do fade, and not to even not to leave out the mental emotional impact that both parties
Oh,
have
yes.
to go through, because that is a significant change for that man as well, because he's not having those nurturing
Mhm.
hormones hit him. He just sees his woman, she's growing in the belly, then on top of that gonna have all this attention going to that child. And some men, they say that there is a change. Well, you know what, that's a whole
Nah, it
other
ain't.
topic.
That's a lie. I'm
No, no,
sorry,
no,
because your body's
nope.
not going through metamorphosis. But honestly, I feel like this, right? So, and like I said, this wasn't even on the topic for us to talk about today. But when you talk about a woman's body when she goes through pregnancy, right? It takes a minute for your hormonal balance, for your emotional balance, for everything to get back to normal
Yep,
because it took 9 months
yep,
to get that way. So
yes.
for a man to be insensitive in that moment while a woman's trying to get back to her, yeah,
Yeah.
that's just flag on the play. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yes. Yes, and and that's the whole thing. This would probably actually be a good topic, Keisha, maybe another
Mm.
time
I
for
have to
when it
do a
comes
whole
to
segment on
before.
this one right here. I didn't even think about
Yeah,
that.
because think
Yes.
about it. Before the pregnancy versus after the pregnancy, the
Oh,
attention that men feel like they lose, the changes in weight for both parties. Because I remember my ex used to be like, "Oh no, I
yes.
got that married weight on me now. You don't put married weight on me." I'm like, "Don't be blaming me." It's all that cooking. Don't be blaming
Girl.
me. But you're right, but it is a lot of transition that occurs prior to pregnancy, post pregnancy, not to mention postpartum depression. A woman, how she feels, her body, most times when a woman gets pregnant, she wasn't feeling, they had to deal with that before, that weight change before.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
a bunch of things
it's
that go into
emotional.
play. Oh my goodness. Yeah,
Mm.
there's a lot of things that go into play because we're dealing with a lot of things internal and none of it has anything to do with our partner.
Right.
Um, so I'm sure the partner is dealing with a lot of stuff on his aspect too, and
Yeah.
thinking about just so many different. There's so many different dynamics. So we're gonna just table that because we're gonna make a whole show
Yeah.
about that. We may make
I'd
even make
already got
episode
it down.
13. Okay, the episode 13. So we're gonna go back into what we're talking about today, which is loss of attraction. And
Yes.
sometimes weight gain that's not due to pregnancy, but just because you've gotten comfortable in a relationship and you don't keep yourself up. And sometimes it happens on both sides. I mean, even the men can get comfortable in a relationship and they don't even think about the dynamics of what they need to do to keep themselves up that attracted us to them. They're just mostly just thinking about what attracted them to us. You know what I mean?
Right. I actually, sometimes it goes both ways.
Hmm.
I have been in a situation both where I was depressed. I let my looks fade because I wasn't putting on makeup. I wasn't doing my hair the way I should. I was just existing. I was so depressed. And I never said anything about depression until it was like way later. And it's like I was having crying like bouts all, and he's like, "What is going on? Where is my person?" Right? So the attraction left between us during that time. But sometimes the attraction fades because you just lost attraction. That person just doesn't look the same. They not, and that was a situation with me, and it was a situation also with the person that I was with, where I was like, dang, like he just wasn't he wasn't keeping himself up. So I did. I lost attraction, and I fought to try to look for something to be attracted to. And it was tough. It was rough.
So
It
let
was
me ask you
very
this question. So when
it
you
goes both ways.
talk about loss of attraction, because I found that usually when you're in love with somebody, it doesn't matter what they look like, it don't matter what they smell like, it don't matter what, you know what I mean? It's like you're gonna love that person regardless, no matter what. So are you truly in love with that person if you have a loss of attraction? Because it's like,
I
it's like I've had people tell me, what do you see in this person? And to me, it's just like it's not for you to know because it's for me to know because I'm the one who was in love with this person. So I don't care what you think about them because this is my heart. So it's like,
Yeah,
when somebody has a loss of attraction and they say they're in love with somebody, are they really in love if they have a loss of attraction?
that's a great question. I do believe that I was in love with that person, like sincerely. That's why I struggled
Mm,
so much because what I saw was that person no longer taking care of themselves. And on top of that, sometimes when they're not taking care of themselves and they change how they treat you, they're treating you like they're not attracted to you either. So it just sort of you know what I mean? It's like it leaves this door open for insecurities and you're able to, an idle mind is the devil's
mm,
playground, and then next thing you know, you're moving further and further apart from each other if you don't start having some conversations.
true,
But
100%. I agree. So it's like, so when you have that moment, and I'm not even gonna say this is just all men, because even when women, when we get to a point to where we realize we're with someone that we're no longer attracted to, that's kind of like when you're at that crossroad to where you're either gonna let the person know how you feel or you're gonna decide to step out.
well, it depends, I think, on the history that you have with that person, for one. And then also, what is the level of attraction that you've lost? Is it you've lost emotional attraction, like that you don't feel like you can't trust that person anymore?
Mhm.
Is it physical attraction? Is it intellectual stimulation that you no longer have with that person? Like they got to hear and then it's like they just stopped and you kept on growing. You thought y'all were on the same level, the same system, and that wasn't the case anymore. So it depends, I believe, on, what it is that where that level of attraction is broken, and then what actions and behaviors stem out from there that create the next reaction or response or whatever. So I don't know. I think for me that wasn't what broke us up. It wasn't that lack of attraction. We actually got back on track with that and that was okay. But it was other things. It was when I went through, like, my life was physically, in harm's way. And that person just brushed it off like it was nothing. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, I thought you had it. And just kept it moving and didn't come to assist or anything. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, and I'm not going to front. That is where a huge, early, well, I lost some ground with that person or that person lost ground with me rather at that point because I'm like, okay, I can't trust you with my life. You can't recognize a threat. So
Mm.
that I lost attraction in the sense of you're not my protector. You have not taken
Oh,
on
that's
this
deep.
role of protector. You know what I mean? So that right there, I was like, I have to fend for myself.
Man,
And
that's
ever
almost
since then,
emasculating for a man to hear something like that.
yeah, and here's the crazy thing though, and I didn't even say that to him. I never said it. I
Mm.
just told him I was upset and I was hurt that he didn't come to my aid, that he did not stand by me when there was a risk of my life, and it wasn't a risk with his life. He would have been okay. But for me, and it's a specific situation that I'm not going to go into detail about. But at the end of the
Mhm.
day, I was just like, oh, wow. I had this feeling in my heart like he's gonna be more for self and not for family. And I was right. In the long run, that's what it was.
But so you
So
said
I
that you
lost
didn't, but you
attraction to
said
that.
that you didn't communicate that to him. So if, like, we
Right.
always talk about communicating. So do you think
Yeah.
things may have been different had you communicated that to him?
See, and this is where I was wrong because I made the assumption because I was arguing with him about it, right? But
Mhm.
I just never said, "Hey," I didn't just simply say, "I didn't feel protected in that moment by you. I felt like, you know, like I was all for I had to just fend for myself." But
Oh,
instead, how it came out was, why didn't you come out there? Why didn't you da 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 da? It came out like that. See, this is earlier, my early days,
yeah.
not
So
knowing how to communicate.
do you
Hmm.
think that that would have changed the outcome of your relationship had you communicated to him that he made you feel like that he was not a protector for you in that moment?
I think that if I would have been calmly, respectfully conveying that to him verbally, very specifically, and asking him for what I needed, then he definitely would have maybe not taken it maturely, like taking it in, but he would have known and been like,
Mm.
okay, I know what I got to do next time. Then, do you see what I mean? Like,
Now, so basically, what you're saying is that had you communicated to him how you were feeling, he would have responded differently into his approach towards that situation, or maybe not that situation, but going forward, he would have known how
yeah,
you felt in that moment. So, well,
right.
I mean, that goes back to communication, right? Because that's one thing we've talked about several times, and what makes a relationship stronger is
Hmm.
communicating. So it's like we can't expect somebody to know how we feel inside if we don't communicate that to them, and we already know that men are basically taught to not really communicate their feelings towards us. So it's like, it's almost like it's not even a push pull. It's just like two blocks going together at
Yeah.
one time.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, I
Yeah.
agree.
And then
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna lie, if I was a woman and I felt like that, and I had a situation to where I felt like he could not protect me, yeah, that would be a total 100% turn off, and it would make me totally
When,
100% attracted. I mean, unattracted to him.
let me just say this. When that happened, it was like my heart dropped into my stomach. It was this feeling of just doom and gloom had just because when a woman gets, in that space where she's just like, he's my guy, we're together,
Yeah.
he's got my back. We were in that space, I thought. And then it was like, no, I'm not. You had it. Are you kidding me? And I had really invested into that person. So
Well,
yeah,
it's like you got those three P's, right?
prophesy.
Protest and provide. Right? Those are
Oh,
that's from Steve Harvey's Act Like a Man, Act Like a
oh,
Lady,
okay.
Think Like a Man. Right. So that's you
Okay.
want a man that's going to protect for you, he's going to profess his love
Mhm.
for you, and he's going to provide for you. Those are the three P's
Yeah.
that we're looking for. So if you have
I
a
thought
man
you was
that's
talking
not
about the
protecting,
priest,
professing, and
prophet, and
provide.
the
No, 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 no.
right. I thought you was
Protect,
talking about the
profess,
priest,
and
prophet, and
provide.
provider.
No, protect, profess, and provide. He's going to protect you. He's going to profess his love for you, and he's going to provide for you. Those are the three P's that came from Steve Harvey. Um, Act like a lady, think like a man. That was that book. So like when you have one of those elements that's not present, of course, as a woman, you're going to feel neglected in some sense, and it's going to make you look at your partner totally, totally different if he's not
Yeah.
protecting, professing, or providing. And maybe it may be just that you might be seeing something that's there that he doesn't even want to contribute to the relationship. Because sometimes
Right.
we'll see, oh, that's my man, because you've been with him so many times, and he's like, nah, that's just somebody I'm seeing, which is totally different from your,
Right.
oh, that's my man. Yeah, no.
Right. Yeah.
We have to
Oh,
make
and
sure we're
that's
on
the
the
whole thing.
same page.
Everybody knew we were together. Like we were a
Yeah.
couple. You hear me? And that's why I was like, how could you? But
Mhm.
you know what? Again, the communication, you never know what your partner is feeling around certain scenarios. So he could have been feeling a disconnection in the first place that made him not responsive. That
Mhm.
I hadn't talked to him about. He hadn't talked to me about. You know what I mean? And at that time, I was a micromanager in a sense. Like I was just like, "I'll do it my way." Blah blah blah. So, girl, he was probably like, "Die, just
So is it micromanager or controller? Because sometimes it's like if he, oh, that brings a whole nother element here now. See, because if you were the one who was micromanaging, you were the one who were being controlling, and you felt like he's probably like, well, she got it. She already act like she controls anything.
exactly."
Then how can I protect
Yes,
somebody who act like they got everything and they don't need me? So that's a whole nother
ex-
element. Ah, see now you have me
exactly.
on your side for a minute now. Hold up.
No, no, no. But that's what I'm saying. No, but that's an excellent point that you bring up because that is a thing. It's like you miss out on your help when you don't know how to let people help. So
Correct.
your man
Correct.
can feel like, she don't need me anyway. She just gonna be feeling like, like I'm in the way.
Yeah.
I'd rather not feel rejected. You see what I mean? But in my head, and the reason why I bring that up is because there's two different perspectives.
Hmm.
That's just my side of the story at the time, but he had a whole other headspace going on.
Well,
You know
women,
what I
we
mean?
we can't be a damsel in distress and then try to save ourselves when somebody come along and say, "That's okay, I got it." No, well, I mean, well,
See,
really, and he be mad. Well, he didn't even try to do nothing. Well, he tried and you didn't even let him.
Right. Here's the problem with being a controlling person is that as a woman, I was controlling in that sense to where he didn't know at what point do I jump in.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not, if that is where his head was, then I couldn't blame him for that. But we'll never know because guess what? We did not communicate. We made assumptions. We moved without connecting and touching
Yeah.
base and saying, hey, this is where my head is on this. Where's your head on it? You know, and without judgment. The thing is, we don't talk often because we think it's going to go into something that's more
Yeah.
problematic, or we think we fear judgment. And that
So
creates a problem, and the attraction continues to fade.
I'm going to tell you this. One thing I've realized is that most of the time, the same way you're feeling, your partner's feeling the same way.
That's a
So
good
whatever,
point.
when there's that disconnect with you, there's that disconnect with him too. So the
Hmm.
real key is really just open communication. And when you talk to your partner about how you're feeling and make them feel like it's a safe space for them to be vulnerable and to tell you how they're feeling, then that's when you guys will get to the root cause of why either you or him or both of you have lost interest in each other. And then, like, you have to get to that point on whether or not you want to continue on with the relationship, or if you want to stop the relationship, or if you want to work to get that old thing back. Like, so it's like,
Yeah.
we're just going to talk about ways to reconnect and to rekindle attraction in a relationship after it's just more than just physical, because when you talk about being attracted to somebody, it's their emotional side, it's their intellectual side. There's so many other things that go into being attracted to someone other than just the physical.
That is all facts. All facts. I think oftentimes what we don't immediately think to do because we have all our resentment built up is going
Mhm.
back to the very things you started doing in the first place that sparked y'all's attraction. So it's like if people can just get past the
Yeah.
resentment and say, you know what, let me push this to the side and let's go do this the way we used to go do this. Let's go hang out at such and such. Let's go have game night again. Let's start that. We used to do that all the time. Let's drink a little something. You know, getting back to that, the simple stuff like hanging out together, that can
Yes.
easily rekindle that. That's literally bringing that old thing back, which that thing y'all
Yeah.
used to have. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's so perfect to say that. How to bring that old thing back because people think that the relationship gets old. No, it didn't got too new, and y'all need to go back to the old because that's what got y'all on point together.
Man, and just even like just going out on dates and role playing and just all kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, oh man, I wish I could tell you about something that I did for this was an ex of mine, but it just all I did was I just tried to do something new and different and fun. And he was
Hmm.
so intrigued, so enticed. And it was like, it just kind of rekindled our love all over again because I decided just to do something different. So there's so
Hmm.
many different ideas and so many different ways that as far as women that we can try to like just to spark an interest in a man, because you know what your man
Hmm.
like. You already know
Right.
what's going on. And if he's lost interest, it doesn't take much for you to get the interest back. So it just depends
Yeah.
on how much you want him and the what you're willing to invest in that relationship.
So yeah, that's a good point. Doing new things that tie you, that cause you to kind of have to
Mm-hmm.
cling to each other again in a good way and laugh at each other for trying something new. You know what I mean? Because you got enough history 9 times out of 10 to just laugh at each other and not take each other so seriously. You know what I mean? In a new moment and doing new things. So yeah, that's really powerful. I mean, just gosh, and just being creative. Something I be telling people, I'm like, y'all lost that thing. Go play hide and seek in the house together.
What? I mean, get some water guns or do something. You know what I mean?
Go get some water guns.
Play hide and go seek.
Yeah,
Do something. Do something
yeah,
just to
but
spark
hold
some
on.
interest and spark some new memories.
But if you are married, and I always support like marriage, if you're married, play hide and seek naked or in your cutest outfits.
That's a
I
good one.
mean, nighttime outfits.
It's been a long time. I haven't been married in 30 years, but I would be
I'm
willing
just
to play hide and go seek without no
It'll be
clothes on.
so think about how fun that would be. Think about how fun that would be. You know
Yeah,
what I
but
mean?
it's mostly all
So,
about
yeah,
just creating new memories, and so that way you
it is.
guys can have those inside jokes to where nobody understands them but you and your partner. Those that creates intimacy in a relationship. So
Yeah.
I mean, that can be something that can rekindle, just making sure that you try to get that attraction back with your partner and
Yes,
reconnecting.
yes. And you know something that's really attractive is, now this could be messy. This is, but it is learning how to communicate, right? Just opening up. But this is the, you do have to be careful
Mhm.
about this part, because again, if you're in a situation where things have faded and you might have some resentment there or anything like that, or let's just say it's no resentment. If you could just, open up, excuse me, you open up and talk to that person, that alone is attractive. I didn't know you felt like that. Oh,
Well,
wow. You know,
well, I'm just going to
like,
say
thank
this
you
too.
for
So when you think about trying to
that.
rekindle something, right? If you see something that's lacking in your partner, you can actually bring
Mhm.
that up. So let's just say if you notice that your partner has gained weight and you want them to lose weight, just start cooking healthier foods, or even start you guys can start working out together. You can start walking. You don't have to be afraid to bring that up. You can try new hobbies to where it actually helps to increase their exercise level, something that you can do together, as opposed to you trying to body shame that person or make them feel bad about how they look, because ultimately a
Right,
person knows how they look on the outside, and that's not fair to
right,
them.
right,
And if you are
right.
someone who once upon a time you loved this person, right? So even if you feel like you've lost attraction, where's your love level? Because ultimately, and I don't, being married and being in a relationship is two totally different things. But even if you're in a relationship and you say that you love someone, you want to see them do good always. And even if you're in
Yeah.
a relationship to where you're married and it's for better for worse, you're in those moments to where it's worse. You have to do what you need to do to make sure that you help that partner to get to a better state of mind. So,
Yeah.
it's all about, once again, we're going back to communication.
Holding space for each other, not
Mm-hmm.
ready to jump in ego, not
That's
ready
right.
to think that that person is trying to attack you. They're merely, even if it's, that's the other thing. Sometimes it might even sound like a verbal attack and like, or like a blame game, but they just don't know how to say it properly, non-offensively, right? And it can just be like, well, you da 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 da. But what they're really saying, like, you always talk crazy to me. What did I do to you? Right. And really, it could just say, you know, I really do respect and love, when you communicate your needs to me in a way that
Ooh.
is not accusatory, in a way that lets me know you just need this from me,
Yeah,
you
but
know?
you hardly ever get that response from somebody. Usually it's just like you're butting heads and the person is saying one thing and
Yeah.
you're looking for a quick comeback.
Yep. And
So
that's what people have to
that's
learn.
unrealistic.
Yeah.
Yep,
And
that's
no, I
really
don't know that it's,
unrealistic.
I think I do believe that it's common. I don't believe that it's excusable, because we are adults, but I do understand it. You know what I mean? And I think I just expect people to be people. So that does happen. So it's like a lot of people, because they can never get past that bumping of heads, they end up constantly going in the opposite direction, and they
Yeah,
never learn that communication.
yeah,
It is a skill. They call
that's true.
communication a skill for a reason. It has to be learned. If you grew up in a household, especially, and you didn't see them, a lot of people, the way that they get that old thing back, Keisha, you know what they did? They would fight, argue, cut up, and then next thing you know, ain't no I'm sorries, ain't no apologies, ain't no hey, let's talk it through. It's here go dinner, and then you just start laughing and go watch your favorite show together.
Well, I'm gonna tell you one thing that I just thought about on a way to make sure that you never lose attraction with someone is you just like somebody that likes what you like. So let's just say you might be a little bit overweight. You might not want to get with somebody to go to the gym 6 days a week. You know what I mean? You get with you somebody who's a
Right.
foodie who likes to eat, and then you guys can
Yeah,
just cook together.
yeah. No, that's an actual that's really an excellent point, because then what ends up happening sometimes, and I've seen this so much. You get the person that gains the weight, and they're like, okay, I'm gonna do da
Mhm.
da 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 da, and knowing good and well that that ain't what they like to do. They like kind of sitting down, chilling, and gaining a little pudge here and there. It's okay for them. They don't mind if they don't mind if they spouse, if their woman gain a little pudge. Come here, girl, give me that fupa. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like
And this, I'm gonna tell you this. Sometimes we have to be mindful of what we're attracted to, because if you like oh, I like somebody that has a six pack, or I like somebody that works out, and you don't work out, stop it. Please stop it,
yeah.
because people that
I
work
do
out
see
like people that work out.
I do see, unfortunately, though, I do see a lot of people that like if they read off their list to you,
Mm.
it does not match at all who they actually are. And I'm like, you are waiting for a problem to occur, like as far as the physical stuff. I'm like, if you want a discipline probably comes along with that person, you know that, right? That's why I never really say that I want the guy with the 8 pack, because I'm like, if it's naturally on him, okay. But if he's going to the gym now, I used to have a gym rat for a guy, and I'm like, I mean, it was nice because it
There's a
gave me time by
difference.
myself, but at the end of
Tho-
the day, I was just like, mm,
Those are good
that's not, I
friends
don't know.
to have to motivate you to work
Nah,
out. Not, I said, those are good friends to have to motivate you to work out. They are not, I'm not saying all of them, but they ain't people to have in a relationship. To be in a relationship, if
yeah,
you're not somebody who goes to the gym 24/7. So now,
yeah,
if
and
you're a
that's the
gym
thing.
rat and you enjoy working out, then guess what? A guy who's in the gym all the time is probably your ideal mate. But if you know
Hmm.
you don't like working out like that, you don't work out maybe once a month, don't be trying to go date no guy just because he look good and he keeps himself up because
Right.
he's gonna want a woman to do the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm not saying that there aren't guys out there, it's people like what they like. You got to know what people really like. Like for
Hmm.
instance, I got with this one person, right? On their wall, they had Melissa Ford on there as a
I don't even know
poster
who
on
that
there.
is.
She's an old video vixen, real busty, a lot of butt and all of that stuff, hip butt, all of that, a lot of curve. I am not a lot of curve, honey, but that man was convinced. That boy was really convinced. You see what I'm saying? That
I have no
I
idea
was
who that
somebody
is.
that he wanted. And I was just like, so when he cheated on me, fast forward, we're
Ah.
dating, and then he cheats on me. Guess who he cheated on me with? A Melissa Ford looking vixen.
Well, like I said, we talked about this before. Me and she for different reasons. That had nothing to do with how you look. It may have just been something
No,
totally
no,
different. It had nothing to do with you.
no. Nope. Hear what I'm saying. He had a type. And I've seen him, I've known him since. He's got that same type. It is a type, but what he saw in me was a good woman. He just saw a good woman and we were really good friends. And so he was trying to deviate from his norm because, he had bad experiences with them big busty butt type of women. And so it just didn't match. And I was just like, you tried. It just didn't work. It just didn't work. Sometimes people really do have a type. I remember a guy told me one time,
No, I think
you're cute.
everybody has a type, honestly, but it's
Yeah,
just that that doesn't mean that you always date your type just because you have a type. Because sometimes
right.
somebody can come along to where you find a different type of attraction to them, to where it can be more
Yeah,
stimulating and more internal, and more intuitive than it
yeah.
is just physical. So yes, I think everybody has a physical type that they're probably likely attracted to, but that doesn't mean that's who they're always going to end up with.
Right, right. But at the same time, I cannot factor out that it could also be that I tried this and I'm not with it now.
That
I'm not
doesn't,
saying that that's a common thing because I
girl.
think when a man really wants you and a man really is into you, that does not matter. But what I do see is that they will revert back to that old
So,
attraction. You know
and
what
I'm
I
gonna
mean?
say this though, just because a man cheats doesn't mean that he's not attracted to you.
Right.
Because,
Yeah. Please, who want 50 of the same or
well,
different things?
it's like, how can I say this?
Different
It may,
flavors.
well, no, it's not that, but because me and Chief for all different type of reasons. I know we talked about this before, but it may not have anything to do with how you look. So you said him cheating on somebody who was totally opposite from you. It doesn't even mean that he was even attracted to that person. I mean, physically, yes, but not mentally. So he may have been attracted to her physically, but that doesn't mean he was going to be with her. Just because he slept with her a couple of times doesn't mean that's because he wants to wife her. So it's totally different. Like I say, me and Chief for all different reasons. That needs to be a
Right.
whole nother show all in
I
itself.
Girl. Yeah. I think we've kind of covered
Right.
that.
So,
I
but
but
what I'm saying is that you were no less of a person at all,
right.
or less beautiful,
Right.
or less who you are as a person, just because he chose to go
Um,
be with somebody else. That ain't had nothing to do with you. Nothing, whatever to do with you.
oh
None
no,
whatsoever.
to look here, to me, it is never like I never take offense when somebody is like, "Oh, I'm onto this." I'm just like, "No, but I see it. I recognize it, and I'm not in denial about what I know this person has a tendency to go for." I have a tendency to go for something myself. And so I had to be honest. I was dating this one guy and I was like, ooh, ooh, he's so fine. You know what I mean? Because to me, bigger guys used to mean like my protector until I was let down by one, right? And then I was like, oh, that don't mean they'll protect you at all just because he's big. Like I thought real stupid stuff back in the day. But at the end of the day, I had these moments where I was like, he's too heavy for me. Like that is too much. Like it hurts me. It was to the point where and I lost attraction that way. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that there's a type or anything like that, because that person was my type originally. But then it just got to be too much, you know. So yeah, at the end of the day, I think it doesn't matter.
Well, because what you're ultimately saying is that when you just describe this, is that when a person is really not attracted to someone, it has nothing to do with that person. It has something to do with what they're feeling inside. And when somebody cheats, it has nothing to do with you. Basically, it has something to do with what's going on inside of them, and nothing to do with what's going on with you. If that makes any sense. So I don't know. I think you went on mute for a minute. I can't hear you. Hold on.
Can you hear me now?
I can. I don't know what you did, but you muted yourself.
Yes, my bad. So what ended up happening was that what I've learned, what ended up happening, I know for me was learning that people do what they do, and it's nothing you can do about that. And
Exactly. 100%.
you know what I mean? And when you feel a freedom in that, then you don't have to take it personally. And I do think a lot of people spend a lot of time feeling pain, like, oh, I didn't have this, or like for guys I've heard, well, I wasn't making enough money for her, or no, like who are you as a man? Like, don't get caught up in that stuff. As a woman, well, he probably wanted this type of a woman or that type of a woman. If you are who you are, and I think that's the whole thing, is that a lot of people that we date, they're not gonna be the person. They're not gonna be
Mhm.
our person. We're learning, we're
Yeah,
trying to find the person, trying to make those connections. And when they don't work, I've learned over the years, like it's okay. Like it's a good thing because
yeah,
I'm able to move on. That's the
yeah.
blessing.
Well, the thing is this, it's like when you get to a point to where you realize that you are no longer attracted to someone and that the relationship is not going to work, you have to think about how you are going to move forward, because sometimes that can be a tough decision because you're thinking about all these things inside of you and what you're going to do and whether or not you don't want to hurt that person because you did care about them at one point and you're considering their feelings. And the hardest part sometimes for both parties is just to think about their own happiness, right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
let's just talk about that. And what if the attraction
Mhm.
never comes back and then you realize that I just don't want to be with this person any longer? I know I've heard so
Yeah.
many people say, oh, we just stay for the kids. That is not fair to the kids and
It's
it's not
not.
fair to the other party because your heart is not going to be
Mhm.
in it.
Yeah, especially if they've given everything they've had, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's just not working out. It doesn't mean that that is a bad person. Uh, for whatever reason, the physical, the emotional, the personality, clashes, whatever it may be. But like you said, not forgetting the good that that person had, and then you
Correct.
guys are able to just go from there. Like, yeah, it's actually to me a good thing, because you're like, oh, finally, okay, well, if that's what's going on, we're just not matching each other, then I wish you well. I'm gonna, you know
Exactly.
am
And
I
I
gonna
know,
want to see them with somebody else immediately? No, no, I'm
but
not gonna want to see them with
guess
somebody.
what? Most of the time, relationships they may have been with somebody else anyway. So there's and I'm going to say this word totally wrong, but an amicable way
Yeah,
to end
amicable.
things.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
there's that whatever you said is a way to end the relationship to where
right,
it doesn't have to be a fight. It doesn't have to be that you guys can be enemies, especially when you have children involved. You're going to see that person anywhere. You're going to have to talk to them. So you have to think about
right.
how to mitigate and move
Hmm.
forward without
Yeah,
being enemies. So it's like,
yeah,
because relationships don't always work out. Just because you started out and things
yeah.
were all nice and rainbows and unicorns on the front end, it doesn't mean that it's always going to end up that way. And you shouldn't stay with somebody
Yeah.
that you're unhappy with because that's not fair to you and it's not fair to that person. And if you have children, it's definitely not fair to the children.
That's what I was just about to say too. It does not help if it's with those, I mean, if those kids in the middle, you have got to figure that out. You have to, ooh, Lord have mercy. And then that's the other thing, um, have a support system. Having a support
Yes.
system can really help you to move on. Having your friends, having your family,
Or
they
even
can
going
really
to
be a
therapy
support
with
to
each
you.
other. Like, you can try to work through it.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean you're going to therapy to get back together, but you're just going to therapy to work through this situation because
Do
you
you
want to
think?
make sure that you see the goodness in the other person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you think that people like? Do you think guys are as quick to go to therapy, especially if they feel like? Because I remember a guy. Let me tell you, a guy told me this once. I was trying to get some closure once, right? And this isn't the same as therapy, but in a sense, it's like looking for some type of closure is a form of wanting some type of therapy in a sense, right? I'm going to that guy and I'm like, hey, can we just, this was early in my days. You think we can just kind of, still be cool, but like, could you give me some pointers? Like, what are some things that you learned from this that maybe I could take away and be a better person, right? And girl, let me tell you, he told me the realest thing I have ever heard. He
What?
said, why it was jacked up, but he said, why would I tell you something to become a better person for the next man?
Well, I'm just saying, what is closure? That's overrated. I'm just sorry. What type of closure are you looking for? Boy, bye. It's
Girl,
over.
this was back, look here, this was back in the day. I didn't know. You remember how it was? It's like,
But I'm
well,
just saying,
how can I be better? I'm looking to grow.
what
Girl,
type of
I
closure
said never
are you looking
again.
for? If the relationship is over, okay, we've decided we're no longer going to be together, whatever it may be, we've gone our separate. What type of closure are you looking for? You trying to make yourself feel better about a situation by trying to make me feel worse? No, that's not going to happen. I'm sorry. So let's just move on. Let's just shake hands, be done. I wish you well. Let me go ahead and get my life together and you get yours together. And if we decide to be
Yeah,
friends later on down the line, then so be it. But I'm not going to be your friend and see
right.
you walking around with nobody else. That's not going to happen. It's just not. So closure to me is truly overrated, but that's just my opinion. I
I
just feel
will.
like if it's over, let's just go our separate ways and maybe not talk for
Yeah,
several months. And then once the emotions die down, then it'll be okay for us to maybe have another conversation. And if at that point, if the friendship is worth salvaging, it is. If we don't have children, I don't have no reason to talk to you, bro. I'm sorry. I mean, I'll speak to you in the streets, but I'm good.
yeah, and that's the closure for me. You know how I feel. Closure for me comes from within, not from without.
Exactly.
So to me, you can't get closure from. And when he told me that, that was one of the best things that I had ever heard from a guy. That was one of the realest things I had ever heard. And I was just like, huh, that's a really honest point that you've made. Okay. And from there on, I don't think I ever expected closure externally again from anybody.
Mm.
So yeah, and then I learned then I was like, oh, self-soothe, self-soothe. We gotta self-soothe.
Well, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I'm just not trying to
Mhm.
find no closure from nobody else. Like you said, it comes from within. You just have to make
Mhm.
sure that you do what's best for you. You don't want to be rude or disrespectful to anybody, but if the relationship is over and you know it's over, don't try to salvage something that you know there's no reason to hold on to. Let it go and just move on
Right.
and find somebody else to be with that's suitable to you and make sure that you
Yeah,
live a healthy, happy life. You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. At the end of the day, I want people to just check where your mental health is at the end of the day. With
Absolutely,
all when all is
100%.
said and done, you don't want to leave out of any circumstance, whether that person lost attraction for you or you lost attraction for that person, be in a positive headspace, be in a healthy headspace, do whatever it takes to have that in a good way, in a positive way, to reach that space and to just appreciate what it was and what you've learned, reflect on it. Don't just try to jump from one to the next. And then boom, you're able to just leave out of that situation a healthier person than what you were, hopefully.
Well, good. All right. On that, I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm just gonna end the show because that was phenomenal, and I appreciate you saying that, Essence. All right, guys. Well, that is it for today's episode, and we hope we gave you guys a lot of practical tips to help you navigate that crazy and try to crack that crazy girl code. And as
Yeah.
always, we love hearing from our listeners. And if you
Yeah.
guys have any topics or anything that you'd like for us to discuss on future episodes, please drop us a message or leave us a comment below. And if you
Yeah.
enjoyed today's show, just make sure that you like, subscribe, and leave us a review. Well, thank you for
Hmm.
tuning in to Alpha Intuition Podcast, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
All right.